everybody. Welcome to another episode of 10,000 Roads to Financial Independence. Today, I have Scott Scantlin. Scott is a professional speaker, author, consultant, sales trainer, and business coach with 2 decades of experience in direct sales and leadership. A lifelong student of personal development, Scantlin wrote the Relevance Gap to help those struggling to transition during a time of extreme change. Scott, thank you so much to be on our show today.
Thanks, Elisa. Glad to be here and looking forward to spending some time with you and sharing with your audience any nuggets and helpful tips and things of that nature. So we're just excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to kind of dive into, things like change management, etc., with you, Scott, today. So we always ask our guests the first question we ask them is, or if you can share incidents when you're thinking back in your childhood that made an impression on you and that impact you to become the entrepreneur who you are today.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking about 3 different people. Number one, my dad. I grew up in a bit of an entrepreneurial household. My dad was super creative. He went into real estate. So I grew up in a real estate household, right? And always had, for sale signs in the trunk and, little lock boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
That whole thing. So, and then the other thing was, if my dad was home, he'd answer the phone. Of course, he'd write all over my homework, people's names and phone numbers and stuff like that. So, he was always self-made. I mean, really, he had no safety net. He was a real estate guy and eventually was earning 6 figures. We moved on to a lake, which was pretty exciting. And so, I had a really good childhood in that aspect of things. I was able to watch them and kind of learn from that and then have the confidence and the faith, to kind of walk into my own opportunities as I got older. Started walking into the real world. The second person I'm thinking of is Coach Douglas, right? The coach of my baseball team. Okay. Amazing, right? We had 2 undefeated years. I'll never forget it. And he was just an amazing coach. He just believed in the guys, believed in the team. He was always, consistent in his character and his attitude. And, so I really drew from that and, I've always emulated that as I've kind of moved forward. And then the third person I'm thinking about is, when I finally got into personal development, Anthony Robbins, right? I mean, there's many books I read, but the very first book I read on personal development was Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins, over 700 pages. I read it twice. I mean,
wow.
I kind of put it down. And, I was the kid in school. I was like, I didn't really want to read any books until I started reading personal development books. It just lit my mind on fire. My mother, who also super entrepreneurial, gave me the series, Awaken the Giant Within. I listened to the audios, the tapes, and,
How old were you when she gave you that book? Or the series?
I was like 24, right around there.
Wow,
24.
okay.
Yeah, right at 24, 25. And so then I read the book and then my mind just lit on fire. And it was like the turning point in my life, right? It was like everything just started clicking. And I thought, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is who I want to be. So I went on this massive personal development journey and, I've just been devouring books and seminars and series and all of that ever since. And now, of course, YouTube just makes it so much better, right? You can get it all on YouTube now. So it's just awesome. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So Scott, have you ever had a employment? Did you go to college? How is your entrepreneur journey kind of started? Before it started.
Yeah. So I went to college, right? And I got finished with high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. A friend of mine came home from school. I was like, what are you doing? I don't know what I'm doing. He says, come down to school. I'm flying airplanes. You can join the fraternity. So I went off to school, which was great. And I started with an aviations degree. Eventually, I realized, I don't know if this is what I want to do. So I went down to talk to my president of our fraternity. And he discussed, my likes and dislikes. And he thought, you might be good for a marketing degree. That sounds like you're interested in business. And so I changed my major. And that was a big turning point for me there also as well. But so I did go to school and I did 4 years of college. And then I dropped out of school. I got a loan.
After 4 years.
Yeah, after 4 years.
You're almost done.
Almost done. I thought, I'm taking a marketing. I don't know if I want to be employed. I think I want to run my own business. And that's when I dropped out of school. I took a trip to Australia, backpacked up the east coast of Australia for 3 months, me and my friend Dan. And it was incredible. It was like a once in a lifetime event. And then we came back and I went into business. I went into the cellular phone business. I was in the music industry. Matter of fact, my brother Wes Scantlin's the lead singer of Puddle of Mud. I was integral in all the steps of getting him over a 7-year period of time from, being in a garage to, being out front on shows on big stages. And
Yeah.
so I got to work with all of that and experience that.
Nice.
And so that was my entrepreneurial journey before I got into my current business, which is Legal Shield, which I've been with for 23 years, building a residual income and developing assets, and those types of things. And so learn about assets and all of that along the way, leveraged income, asset allocation, and again, something I studied very deeply today and promote and train and coach other people to go seek out and build for themselves.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about this Legal Shield. You said this is actually the first time I heard about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Legal Shield is the largest legal entity in North America. It's got 6,900 attorneys, all 50 states, all provinces in Canada. And what our members do is instead of spending $200 or $300 or $400 an hour, they pay a small monthly fee, $29.95 a month. They have a mobile app on their device, and when they need access to the attorneys, it's all covered or paid for through their membership. Some things are done at a discount, but most of the legal services are completely paid for through the plan. That app is being downloaded about 4,000 times a day right now.
Yeah. Wow.
We got 1.75 million families on the books, 4.4 million lives covered across North America and Canada, and we're right at 3% market penetration right now. So we're about ready to become mass adoption. We also do identity theft protection also as well. And so again, just a great company that's been growing for a very, very long time, almost 50 years old.
Wow.
Right.
Awesome. And then your role in that, what is your kind of role in that?
Yeah, so I do two different things. I own my own personal business in it. So, I'm an independent associate. I have my own kind of brokerage built into, but then I'm also a network vice president over 10 states. So I serve alongside 16 other network vice presidents. I'm one of the corporate leaders in assisting with the growth of the company from a field perspective.
Gotcha. And then what do you kind of specialize in? Because I'm guessing like, are you kind of more on the legal side of thing? Because there's the Legal Shield, like the actually lawyers and all that stuff. Are you kind of more the business development side? It sounds like more the latter.
Yeah, more business development, because like I always like laughingly say like I'm 12 years short of a law degree, and I've been doing this a long time though. I've heard a lot of stories, helped a lot of people. I can help you, right? But you got to get on the phone with the attorneys. I don't provide the legal services. We're all business development. I help develop distribution of the memberships across North America, placing those memberships with people that want to enroll for Legal Shield and helping other people develop business.
Gotcha. So like corporations and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. That's awesome. So during the years so you helped building that business up as well to you mentioned about residual income. Can you kind of get into a little bit more details around how that kind of work and how this can help you grow like personal wealth and help other people kind of grow personal wealth as well?
Yeah, so before Legal Shield, I was always kind of looking for products that no one owns, everyone needs, everyone's going to buy. So that's step one, right? That's why I was in the cellular phone business. I was in the cell phone business when nobody owned phones.
Wow.
I was an early adapter. Okay, the phone was $39.95 a month. You got 40 minutes. Evenings and weekends weren't free. The phone didn't work half the time, but it didn't matter. I know it was in early stages. I knew, just like I'm invested in like cryptocurrency right now. It's early stages, right? I knew it was going to be a big deal. So that was that, right? But then that didn't work out, because they shook out a lot of people. And so then I was just looking for the next product, right? Like the next thing that like something no one owns, everyone needs, everyone's going to buy. Right. The reason I was looking for that is because I'm interested in subscription model products. So when you pay a phone bill, if I sold you that phone, I got a percentage of your bill every month paid to me. Right. And all I had to do is sell you that phone one time, but I got paid maybe forever or for the next 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years for something I did one time. So that's the brilliance of, say, for example, Legal Shield. Legal Shield is a subscription model product. Right. Okay, so people subscribe to the services, and then when they pay their monthly fee, they pay their monthly bill, I get a percentage of that. I also build teams, so I get leveraged income on teams, and I get a residual income on that also as well.
Got it. So it's kind of like a sales, but it's a networking sales sort of activity. Yeah, got it. Yep. Got it. That's awesome. And so it's very interesting to me. Let's switch gear a little bit. It sounds like to me, I'm kind of summarize it up, listening to your journey. You went from cell phone, which is at the time kind of pioneer thing, and crypto, and then Legal Shield is also like, you sound to me as someone who's going to be just running towards change, Like when it's change comes over new technology, you're like, wow, like I'm running towards that. I'm very similar. So really great to meet you over that. So is that why how you wrote the relevance gap? Like where's the relevance gap comes in? Because you talked about change management in your book, Relevant Gap, and kind of helping people managing change. Can you tell us a little bit more about how it comes about writing the book and also tell us a little bit more about the book? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like I always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to be a writer, and it was something I always aspired to do. I love books. And so, I'm going to write a book. And at the
Only
time,
nonfiction though, right? Like
yeah,
that's
not, yeah,
weird.
not yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nonfiction. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to do that. And at the time, this is, it took me 18 months to write the book. So we'll go back, let's say 4 years, maybe around there, right?
Mm.
At the time, I just could see everyone struggling, including myself, with adaptation and change. Right, like you said, you're right. I run to change. I'm like, okay, what's coming? I want to get out in front of it before it before it becomes mass adoption, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what I saw people struggling with was the inability to adapt. They didn't want to, right? They just didn't want to change, and they needed to. And the problem is when you avoid adaptation and change, especially when you're in a fast-changing world like we live in today, the further you fall behind, the more irrelevant you become. And that's what the relevance gap is really all about, right? Like you're here, and technology and change is up here. And the further this gap spreads, the more irrelevant you come. And it just in the further you get away, the more difficult it almost feels or appears to be to catch up. And what most people don't realize is it doesn't take a lot to catch up. It's like maybe 5 or 6 things. Like once you figure out these 5 or 6 things that you need to adapt or adjust, you quickly, but here's the thing, you never get all the way up here. There's always going to be the gap, right? The gap's a good thing. The gap should drive you, should motivate you. And I think that's what people needed, some inspiration, some direction, and to know that, hey, it's okay. This is where I'm at, but I have to acknowledge that if I don't make these adjustments, I'm going to become irrelevant at work, and they're going to let me go. Like I'm not going to be here anymore. And so that, again, I think was important. And then of course we published the book in November of 2019, and 5 months later, pandemic. I mean, it was just like we went from, wow, this is really important, to, wow, this is now. Like it wasn't even, you didn't even have time anymore. It's like you had maybe 10 years or 5 years, then all of a sudden you just had like 2 years or 3 years. And all of a sudden you had to learn how to use Zoom. You had to learn how to do things with technology and communicate and market. Through social media platforms, and all of these things people were avoiding. Now they just had no choice. And again, look at where we're at today. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really timely. It's again, it feels to me the signature of you is like trying to see what a change is, right? And then same with the book. It was written to address the problem that's emergent, but once the change actually happened, like you're right there. Tell us a little bit more about the book. Like if we kind of take a synopsis in it, what does the reader kind of get out of it? I mean, you talked about like is mindset changes and all that stuff, but is there a system that inside a book that can help people to unshook what they're used to? Because I think a few people are like you and I who is like, oh, fire or change, let's run towards it, right? I think a lot of people tend to like run away from it or try to like really hunker down and like pretend it doesn't happen. So what is kind of like the first step getting out of that zone and start welcoming the change?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is acknowledging, right, and accepting that change is here. And so the first 3 chapters really spend a lot of time on making a case for the need to make these adaptations, why you need to do it, why it's urgent, right? I mean, it's not something you should do. It's something that's necessary. Like if you don't do it, these are the implications of problems you're going to suffer. You have to make the change. And so we spend that first 3 chapters kind of making the case for change, right? Like for example, a good case for change in there is the rise of the freelance contract labor worker. People think, oh, I'll always be employed. Well, that's not true. In November of 2019, when I published the book, 1 in 5 employees were already on freelance contract labor work. They were no longer W-2 employees. And a lot of employers, they said within a decade, within 10 years, it was going to be 50%.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that 50% is probably more like 3 to 5 years now.
Yeah.
Because, not only the fact that employers are now looking at that model, but the employee got to spend the last 19 months with the pandemic, they got to spend time at home with their kids, working from home, right? And they began to realize, wait a minute, I don't have work-life balance. This is crazy. When they started getting called back into work, and they're like, well, I don't want to do that, right? Well, that's fine. You can stay home and work from home, but we're going to cut your pay by 25%. So everybody's now trying to figure out, hey, how do I take my skills and repackage and remarket myself as a freelance contract labor worker, right? You see what I'm saying? So getting ahead of the trend. And like you said, me and you, we gravitate, but hopefully we can put ourselves out there as a beacon of light that people can kind of come to and read my book, for example, and get some ideas of how do I repackage myself, right? So I think that's number one. Number two, there's a chapter, it's chapter 4, the aggregation of marginal gains, and it's just about Sir David Brailsford and the cycling, the British cycling team, right? That were like, they hadn't won a medal, like they had won like one medal in like 100 years, and there was a laughing stock to the country, right? And so they formed this lottery and started raising money, and Sir David Brailsford came in, and his focus was not focusing on the big things, but focusing on the little things, right? Tiny little things that you do that seem to make no difference in the act of doing, that make all the difference in the world. And so we kind of walk you through that because it allows you to be able to understand, hey, wait, if I just make some tiny adjustments, right? Little adjustments each day, I'll get there, right? I'll get there. It's like the Anthony Robbins teach, 1% change every day is a 365 turnaround in a 1-year period of time. So we train on that and coach on that. And then when you get into the back end of the book, it's all the steps and the philosophy and the mindset, and all those things that help you go ahead and kind of elevate even further, right? Like go ahead and go farther than you thought you could go, right?
Yeah.
So again, just a great instruction on how to make that adaptation and how to pivot.
Absolutely. I love like what you just touched on, which is change is made one step at a time or half step at a time, often 1 degree at a time. I think that's very important. It's kind of like the analogy of you try to lose it 50 pounds, you're not going to drop 50 pounds in a day. And then if you try to strive it for in 3 months, you likely will fail. But if you did that in over 2 years, then you can actually maintain it a lot better. So much more, if you're just looking at losing a pound a week, perhaps that would be a little bit more easier to get to. And Scott, so aside from writing the books, now is the book authors, once they wrote the book, they just kind of sit back and get paid? How does that work with your business and etc.? I know I obviously asked that, it was kind of a joke, but you have a coaching programs and you also speak as well. Tell us a little bit more about kind of like your business and how you function as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I just was entering into the speaking world, as COVID hit, so it was new for me. I was maybe a year into it. I'd started my book. I joined the National Speakers Association. Obviously personal development fan, big fan of Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone says, if you're trying to write your book to make money, you're not going to make any money writing a book. He's right. That's not where the money comes from. And, that should be a labor of love. You want to put that out there. And of course, I'm going to write it. I got more books to write. I've got other ones I want to write. But it really is it's who I am. It's what I talk on. It's what I speak about, right? I do some training on emotional intelligence reprogramming. That's a big topic right now.
What is that? Emotional. What is it? Emotional intelligence.
Reprogramming. Reprogramming how you handle emotions and how you allow the association of emotions to affect how you respond or react to things. So most people's emotions are driving the car. It's like it's like having a 10-year-old behind the wheel of a car. It's just so it's dangerous, right? And so we're just not conscious of what's happening with emotions and how they're affecting relationships, how they're affecting your business, how they're holding your back. It's really a glass prison. You can't even see it. And so we train people on how to recognize the emotions that they're experiencing, how to isolate them, how to release them through the 90-second rule, which is, you read my book, I'll learn a little bit more about the 90-second rule, how you release them, how you reattach a new emotion and reassign a new emotion to the same event, so that when you trigger that event in the future, or any event or any experience you're having triggers that event in the future, that you have an empowering emotion instead of a disempowering emotion driving you forward. So we train you on how to do that.
Oh, wow. That's super powerful, because it's funny that you just mentioned this. I just attended one of my business coach event yesterday, and that was kind of like the stuff that we talked about, which is like, okay, something uncontrollable happened to you. Let's say someone hit your car. Your natural tendency is to respond this way. but like how can you actually, what you're talking about over here, associate a positive emotion, or how do I prevent it in the future, or how do I improve it and then turn it into a positive event? Yeah.
Well, because it's fight or flight. Like you every time you have a traumatic experience, the mind files it away for future reference, so that when you have a similar experience, that the mind can protect you through fight or flight. And so you're triggering these emotions of something that happened to you when you're 10 years old, reacting to something that's happening in a relationship that you're in, right? Maybe a business relationship, maybe a personal relationship. And now that 10-year-old's driving the car, negatively impacting. But it's the brain's way, it's the brain's design of protecting you for future events. And the problem is you're not present or conscious in making a decision on whether you should hold on to that emotion or whether you should release it and reprogram, and so that you can move forward, so that you have empowering emotions driving you forward versus disempowering emotions negatively impacting and holding you back. And that's what happened to my wife and I. We were working our butts off, like a lot of people listening, and we just kept hitting that ceiling. Didn't matter how hard we worked. There were some emotional things that were holding us back. And so we went through some training and some reprogramming. And once those things got reprogrammed, which didn't take long to do, once they were gone, all of a sudden, man, our businesses took off. We exploded. We started going to new levels. I mean, literally I think it's next level personal development. And I think it's going to dominate what you're going to hear over the next 10 years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You just mentioned your wife is in a business too. Are you guys in the same business?
No, two different businesses actually, which is kind of cool, right? Like, we work together in different aspects, but she owns nutrition clubs. She's in a company called Herbalife, and she's been with for a long time, and so she's got nutrition clubs. She's got 10 of them. Oh, wow. So she's opening up a brand new one right now. We just moved to Bradenton, Florida, so we live in Florida. We're from Kansas City. We just moved back to Florida. Nice. And we moved here because we wanted to live here, right? You can do that when you've got assets and you've got cash flow and residual income. You can do what you want. And so we work two different businesses. I'm super proud of her, man. She is like, whoo, man, she gets it done, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how do you, then I'll ask a personal question, like how do you actually strive a balance to kind of spend time with each other, have the quality of relationships when both of you are running 24/7 entrepreneur lifestyle?
Well, we make the time. We don't, like we have date night. We plan out our weekends. If we're going to do something fun or if we're going to be working, we both know that. We eat dinner together every night, between 5 and 6 o'clock. We make dinner and eat dinner together. We go to dinner a lot. And then, we spend time supporting each other, in our businesses also as well. But, you sit down and you say, hey, this is the plan. Have a talk, have a plan, have an agenda. And I think when you're on the same page and you're going after, and then support each other, like be your spouse's biggest cheerleader. If your spouse wants to go, be involved in a business and she's found something that she or he is super passionate about, then, support them, right? You support them in that and cheerlead them on and drive them forward. And it really does work if you, and then listen to each other also as well. Don't get in a situation where you're spending too much time on you got to stop and say, hey, how are you feeling? How's our relationship? And then so we can always work on that. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Almost 23 years marriage. So.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a long time together. And then 23 is kind of interesting to mention because you kind of went through a couple kind of life stages as you grow, and that's amazing. Congratulations. That's awesome. So you mentioned about speaking. Now, kind of getting back to the change management, right? So in terms of speaking, like in the last November or so, you're so amped going on this personal speaking event. We all know COVID kind of put, break on personal speaking, like at least the live events. So what did you do to kind of change with it and to kind of adapt it with and mitigate like the fact that you couldn't do live speaking anymore? And then so what did you do like to kind of pivot with your business?
Well, I was kind of getting out in front of pivoting prior to it happening because I was going to NSA events and watching the speakers, and up until that point in time, public professional speakers, their primary source of income was keynotes, live events, right? But at that point in time, that had actually changed. All of a sudden, there's Kajabi, they're all looking for ways to create residual, repetitive income coming in versus these one-off events, which was all they were doing. So I went to some events getting trained on how to build your YouTube channel, how to leverage, those kinds of tools, right?
Yeah.
Zoom, Zoom came in. I was already using Zoom. I'd been using Zoom for probably 3 or 4 years. My
Yeah.
wife's company had been using it even longer than that. But so I was very aware of, all these technologies, particularly YouTube. And so when the pandemic happened, I just watched it just cripple the speaking industry, right? They went from, let's say, $10,000 to $25,000 paydays to, $2,500 live Zoom presentations with as many, as many meeting planners that they could get their hands on, and trying to keep their business alive, right?
Right.
Well, what I did was I was able, because I have residual income and I wasn't fully engaged in that so far yet, that I was able to pivot and put my energy into my YouTube channel, put my energy back into my business, and just kind of prepare myself moving forward, doing podcasts like we're doing now. And so I'm just trying to leverage out all of the things that the cultural changes is taking place that I'm a part of, and actually helping to build, that I'm going to continue to build on those aspects so I can continue to get exposure, and then worry about the live events when they come back. So it's still a little kind of, it's like, okay, is this going to happen? Is Southwest going to cancel 1,000 flights today?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to be out there in the middle of nowhere, and then like all of a sudden we don't know what's going to happen in the next month, the next week, the next 6 months. So I'm trying to do everything from an in-house studio, and then reach out to the world that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, including Grant Cardone, has had like this live TV, but it's really a kind of podcast channel by itself. Is building a studio. One of my personal favorite in the real estate side, Kenny Mockery, just built a studio this year as well. So a lot is kind of transition into it. Where do you see the landscape going in 5 years to 3 years to 5 years, in terms of public speaking world and the coaching world?
I think that they'll get back to live events, maybe faster than you think, but even when they do, we're left with a residual effect of, just people being afraid of being in spaces like that. We just had a convention. I just got back from it, and we had probably about 3,000 people at the convention, and probably about 2,000 people watching it online. So I think you're going to see a lot of hybrid events, but I think that if you're going to be effective, and it's not always about the payday. It's about the impact. I think really good speakers are going to get really good at developing, like a lot of them are using systems like Kajabi and stuff like that, but there's all kinds of other platforms and stuff like that where they can have an ongoing impact on the companies that they serve and the companies that they're contracted to.
Right.
And I think that's going to be huge. I think that's what the cultural shift's going to look like. And then they'll still be able to love the experience of the live event, because everybody wants to be on a live stage. I want to be on a live stage. I'm different on live stage, but I'm standing up right now. I got my uplift desk, right? I'm gonna do a little button and sit down.
You gotta do the sit down.
So
I need to start having interviews standing up. It's definitely a different energy when you're talking to you when you're standing up versus like sitting down over there. Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. So you obviously looking forward to going to the live stage. I think, isn't that like what most public speakers do? Like what kind of drives you is the impact to the world that you're making, that your message is actually getting across to people and helping them in some ways in their life. Yeah. I just saw Eric Thomas at our convention in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was amazing. I mean, it was like, wow, this guy's like real, I mean, it was incredible. It just, there's that energy, right? Being at the live event, being there with people, and, they're running up and asking you questions, and, it's just, you're right there. You're really right in it, But, like I said, there's just a cultural shift. I mean, look, here's what I'll tell you something everybody already knows. The world has forever changed. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, man, stop fighting it. Just like embrace the change, and then see where you fall, and then see how you can make a contribution. I think that's then you're authentic. How can I make a contribution, with what I got and where I'm at right now, and with the unknowns. We don't know what's going to happen next week, next month, and the next 6 months. So if I'm operating in uncertainty, then I need to find some space where I can grab some certainty and operate from there and make a contribution.
Yeah. Right? So yeah, absolutely. And then so for some, you mentioned earlier that you also doing coaching. You're coaching some of the clients to help them bridge the gap from thinking about going, entrepreneur route and still having a W-2, or maybe they have already went there but was lost ever. Like, where do I start? What's the kind of like the best way? Like, can you give us a little bit of flavor of what that coach look like? What are the common challenges people have other than obviously managing change, which is what we've been kind of talking about over here.
Yeah, yeah. For
What
number
is
one,
holding them back? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
find a product or a service you want to engage in. Could be rental properties, as I know with what you guys do. It could be a subscription model product out there that you want to do. Could be health and wellness products or services out there that you want to do. But you got to find something you can get passionate about, that you'll love it. You're like, oh, I love this. I want to do this, right? Some people like to remodel homes,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? Just find something you love where there's an asset. You understand? So if I love remodeling homes, maybe I want to do rental properties. You see what I'm saying? Because now I can do that over and over again because I love doing that, and now I have an asset that I own that I can develop a cash flow.
Like hold. It's kind of like a do something and then hold. Yeah. Be able to
Yes,
hold it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I love crypto. Love it. I think it's the coolest thing. I'm so engaged in that right now. Like that's an explosive passion for me. Okay. Do you understand? You got to be that number one. Okay. So now the second thing is that you need to find someone who is a quality mentor that can guide you. Okay, that's the second thing. Okay, so that is probably the single most important thing. Don't think you're going to figure it out and go do it on your own. You're not. You're not that smart.
Right.
That's why you're where you're at now. You're right where, not in a negative way. You're just you can't. If you don't have it internally and you don't know it, you need to go get it from somewhere. You need somebody to provide that guidance and direction, and you need a mentor. Someone who is successful in what it is that you do. Like a lot of people like to follow Grant Cardone, why he's successful. But can I touch Grant? Can I meet with Grant? Probably cost a lot of money to get all the way up in Grant's personal space, right? I know friends that do, right? But at the same time, Matt could spend more time with Elisa and the team, right? So you find personal mentor. That's number 2. Number 3, this is critical. Okay, so the third thing is the only component I'm gonna leave you with is follow the system. Okay, there is a system to everything. Okay, and you want to be a system dependent individual, right? So if you're out all over the place spraying and praying and trying to figure it out, and you're going to make so many mistakes you're never going to get, you're going to frustrate yourself right on out. Look, follow a system, because if you have a system, then you can start part-time at whatever it is. Like you can still have your W-2 job, and you can get started part-time, get your feet wet, follow your mentor, start learning, study the system, take a leap of faith and do something you've never done before, step out there, do it over and over, and eventually your income from your assets, from your passion will surpass your W-2, and you won't need that job anymore.
Right.
And then you just walk away, So again, that's how you break loose, right? That's how you get free. And then the fourth component is work harder on yourself than you do on your business. Okay, you got to work harder on yourself than you do on your business. And what does that mean? That means read the book, listen to tapes, go to the seminars, start your day out the right way on YouTube, listening to Eric Thomas if you love him, listening to Anthony Robbins if you love him. I can take your pick. Mine's Les Brown. I listen to Les Brown every morning. So, and he says the same thing every time, and I just listen to him over and over and over again. Why? Because he motivates me, gets me, pulls that out of me. But you look, make the personal investment, right? The deposits. Okay, you got to make the deposits daily, and if you'll do those 4 things I just shared with you, you'll be successful at whatever it is you choose.
I love it. People always talk about following the system. To you, what is system?
Save yourself time, energy, and money. That's what system stands for, right? I look, when you walk into McDonald's, right? Where are the French fries? Right over there on the left, right? You went right by the window, right? You know right where they are. Right? Where are they cooking in the back? The hamburgers. Right? And a little thing it's a system, right? I have a good friend of mine that I write about in the book, who's an airplane mechanic, now made over $15 million in Herbalife. Tremendous guy. I interviewed him. He's in my book. His name's Brad Harris. And one of the guys I interviewed, he was an airplane mechanic. And you know what he knew how to do? He knew how to teach people how to take a nut, bolt, and a wrench and torque it, right? And they had a system for that on airplanes, and he could teach people how to follow those systems. He took the same mindset into what? His Herbalife nutrition business, right? And what did he do? He taught people, nut, bolt, torque, right? Over and over and over. Everything's just nut, bolt, torque, right? He said, simple, right? So simple. So you just have to decide, like there's a system in my business in Legal Shield. We have a system. We bring people in, we have an onboarding program, we have a way we launch them, we have, technology that we use to share information very rapidly. We train them on that system and they become individually independent over a very short period of time. So and here's why you follow the system. Because if I show you how to do, if I'm trained by my mentor to do, and I do it, and then I get someone I'm training to mentor and I show them how to do the same thing that I was shown how to do, we're all doing the thing that works over and over and over again, and we've got a better likelihood or percentage of success than folks that are out there trying to kind of figure things out on their own.
Right, or all over the place, or tribal knowledge in some case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you obviously have a system about how to deal with the change in life, and that's captured in your book, The Relevant Gap. So for our listeners, you definitely want to kind of check out Scott's book over there. And where you see yourself in 5 years.
Yeah, well, that's great. So yeah, definitely.
Or midterm, whatever the midterm is.
So let's just say 5 years. 5 years is fine, right? I'm good for that. So. Yeah, I'm loving what's happening with my business right now. It's growing, right? Loving watching what's happening with my wife's business. It's growing. Kim's where, she's going to great heights and stuff like that. I really just want to do more on the personal development side, on the speaking side, on the coaching side, working with people and helping people, get to where they could be, right? What's their potential? I want to help develop. I'm like really working on myself as a coach. That really is probably in a leader, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a better leader and I want to be a better coach. And in order for me to do that, I got to be a better servant.
Yeah.
And it's easier for me to serve more now because I don't have the financial needs. When money goes away, you don't have to think about it anymore, right? All of a sudden you're able to really pour into people in a huge way. And that's kind of a special place to be. So that's where I want to be in 5 years. I want to be better at what I do. I want Kim to be better at what she does. I don't want us together to be better at helping other people achieve their dreams and their goals.
Got it. That's awesome. That's awesome, Scott. And Scott, lastly, how does people find you? If people want to kind of look up to you, they want trainings to help them manage their changes better, or have business coachings to understand, helping them kind of building their system, how do they find you?
Okay, yeah. Well, a couple things. I have a website, so scottscantlin.com. That's, so you can kind of Google that, scottscantlin.com, and that'll take you right there. You'll see my big mug with my book and all that stuff. You scroll down, and there's links to, e-speakers. I'm a part of National Speakers Association, which gives some more details about topics that I speak on and stuff like that, different programs that I have, if they have some interest. And maybe it's a meeting planner that's looking for someone to, do something over Zoom, or, when we get back to live events, do live events and stuff like that. But so all of that's kind of packaged there at scottscantlin.com. And you can reach out to me. You can schedule a meeting with me on Calendly if you're looking for private coaching. So I have a Calendly account there. You just click on it and you can schedule, and I'll get notification, and I'll give you a free 30-minute consultation. So I do that also for potential clients, right? Then the other thing is my book, so you can get my book on Amazon, right? So pretty easy. You go to Amazon and type in The Relevance Gap or type in Scott Scantlin. The book is only $12.95, so I think we released it at $19.95, and then we had it at $17.95, and we just found the best price point for it. It's $12.95. So it's just a nice.
Oh wow, that's a thing to look into too. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
So you can get my book, right? So The Relevance Gap: How to Stay Relevant and Thrive in a Fast-Changing World. Of course, I'm on social media. You can look me up on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'm on all those formats, and you can access all my information there. You can follow me and subscribe to different things I'll be posting and stuff like that. And then probably last but not least is my YouTube channel, right? And so my YouTube channel is really a work in progress, but it's we're dropping a lot of videos. We've dropped a lot of videos over the years, and so please visit my YouTube channel. I got all kinds of little gems that I provide for you there, and you can take a look and listen a little bit more about me on YouTube.
Awesome. And then we obviously will have all these resources in our footnotes over here. That our editor will drop it in on down the footnotes over there for Scott, and so that you can get connected with Scott. Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for spending your time with me today. I learned a lot. actually during our conversation, I had like a couple ideas and drawing down the notes over here as well. So I can, definitely benefit from this conversation. I'm sure like some of our listener that have change management challenges and looking for business coaching can definitely benefit from you as well. Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Elisa. Thank you so much for having me. An honor to be here speaking to your audience. And anyways, just thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott. All right. Logging off for this another episode of 10,000 Roads to Financial Independence. We'll see you next time.